What's up, everybody? Token Guy back with another video, and today we are looking at Defituna. We've talked about Defituna before. I've done live streams on Defituna. It's a protocol, a program that I've used for a long time now, and I'm super excited because it just keeps getting better and better. And I want to kind of go over today some of the strategies that I've been using, as well as talk about the new Tuna airdrop that's going to be dropping this month, or sorry, next month in July. Within the next month, I should say. And I'm really, really excited for it because a lot of token airdrops, if you're in Web3, you know that they happen and then they go down in value a lot. And there's not a whole lot of utility or value put behind those. But Defituna is trying to do it in a different way. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that and why it's great. And we're going to go over some of the top strategies that I use to be able to make money every single day, sometimes anywhere between 1% to 3% per day, every single day. So let's go ahead and jump into it. This is the Defituna landing page when you come in. There's a few different things that I love about Defituna. One is the team's really great. I got to, I've had a lot of communication with them over the last 6 or 7 months or so. But also I got to meet them whenever I went to Turkey for an event there. And I got some merch. As you can see, I'm repping the Defituna hoodie today. But the team got to meet some of them in person and just really, really good dudes. And it's cool to be able to meet the faces behind the project and get to talk to them about everything that's going on. And so whether you want to trade, whether you are used to doing LP, whether that's like DLMMing on Meteora or on Orca or other forms of liquidity providing, whether you're used to doing that or you're used to doing perpetual trading, longing and shorting futures, whatever that looks like, Defituna is kind of a hybrid. And so if you've done any of that before, honestly, Defituna is probably for you. They do this in an amazing way. And if you're also a lender, you're somebody who just likes to say, hey, I want to take my money, whether that's Solana, Bitcoin, USDC, ETH, even some, kind of fart coins, some meme coins and stuff like that. If you're a lender, you just say, hey, I just want to put my coin somewhere. Defituna is also amazing because they have some of the highest yields in the space. And so make sure you check them out. As you can see right here, USDC is earning 6.1%. and Sol is earning 8.7%, which is, these numbers are actually probably fairly conservative. I've seen USDC upwards of 12, 13, 14%, and Sol as high as 20%. But I think this is probably a little bit on the conservative side right now. But either way, we're going to check that out in just a minute. And then the thing that really sets them apart is their live P&L calculator. And so there's so many different liquidity providing protocols out there, and they do not give you a whole lot of information. You have to kind of do the math for yourself. You have to use a third-party app. There's a lot of different things that you have to do. But with Defituna, they give you a live P&L calculator. It'll show you a live or potential. So like when you're setting it up, you can see the time range here, like 7 hours, 4 days. You can see, okay, based on how long I'm in this pool, they actually give you the curve to show you, depending on where the price moves, what the value of your pool will be, whether you've lost money, gained money, things like that. And so it gives it to you in a beautiful graph. It allows you to customize everything. They have auto compounding they have auto compounding that you can do. You can either set it to have higher leverage, lower leverage, limit orders as well on the lower or higher end. You can adjust your borrow ratio to go long or to go short, and you can do up to 5x leverage. Another cool thing is that they have auto rebalance, which should be coming out fairly soon. I imagine it'll be within the next month or so, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. But they're going to have their auto rebalance, which is going to be really big, as well as their Fusion AMM, which is absolutely massive. And I'm excited to talk about that as well. They've also been audited by multiple companies. As always, do your own research and check this out for security, whether you feel safe using this protocol. It's one that I do feel safe, but you have to make that decision for yourself. Let's go ahead and jump in. So we're going to get started in Defituna first with the trading, because this is the bread and butter of everything. And so whenever you trade, by default, I'm looking at the Sol USDC pool. This is what I like to mess around with. But you can see here, there's a ton of different types of pools you can do. There's Bitcoin, Sol, there's JLP, USDC. You have even like the meme coin, fart coin, Bitcoin, Pingu, JLP, all the different things, Camino. And you can do even stable coin, USDT to USDC. So a lot of different options here. They've expanded these as they've gone, and you can do anywhere between 2x to 5x, kind of depending. They may increase that leverage later on, but I think as of now, it's smart for them to do it this way. You can also see the protocol fees they take and kind of the volume and everything like that. For normal purposes, I'm going to be using Sol USDC because this is the one that I use the most. I track Solana, I do perpetual trading and LPing, and this is kind of the bread and butter for me. And so you can see here, I have some Solana. I'm actually going to set up a live trade right now. And we're going to use Solana, but we allow the swaps to happen. So it'll swap into Sol USDC. It'll swap what it's needed into USDC to be able to make the pool happen here. Okay. And so whenever we look at this, we are going to set up the range that we're looking at. Now, I use TradingView. You can use a lot of different charts, but I use TradingView to look and see kind of where I think something's going to go based on direction. And so based on that, I'm feeling like I want to set this up for the week. Let me say that first of all. Sometimes the trades play out much shorter, but my goal is to have this run all week and ultimately close out with profit. Right now, sometimes the profits will be hit sooner than I expect, or they'll take longer than I expect. But either way, that's kind of the idea. And so whenever I'm looking at my charts, I'm going to say, okay, I think that. And there's a lot of different strategies you can do, but this is kind of my weekly strategy. And the goal of this is to trade it kind of like a perpetual. And then I'm going to be going in this instance slightly long because I believe that's what the market is showing. But I also think that it's going to be a little bit volatile this week. And so I want to kind of set up for that. And so based on that, I'm going to put my low end about 6% down, which is at around 142. And then on the high end, I'm going to put it up to about 160. Let's see, we'll go 161 here. And actually on the low end, I want to bring it up just a smidge. We'll go to 143. So we're looking at like 5.5% down. We're looking at roughly, we're going to come down just a smidge there. We're looking at roughly 6.75% up, right? So this is kind of the range that I want it to work within this week. Now it could go well above or well below this, but I believe this is mostly the range it's going to be within. And ultimately, I think it's going to finish closer to the high side here. And so I'm actually going to move this up just a smidge. And so what we're going to do then, if you can see over on the left side here, I have 87 SOL that I'm putting in here. I'm going to increase the leverage. Now, I can go all the way up to 5x. You can see that the liquidation for this is here and here. Now, I can set up limit orders to close out when it gets to these ends, so I don't really have to worry about the liquidation. But there are times where liquidations can happen if you're not careful. So I normally don't like to go the full 5x. I'll go like 4.5x. And you can see it drastically moves the liquidation zones on these, just in case some black swan event or even something smaller but still kind of a crazy event happens where the price moves too quickly. So we're going to do this, and then what we're going to do is we can adjust this borrow ratio here, and the borrow ratio right now is 50-50. And so we're actually semi-long here already, which you can see on the chart, which is, again, is the beautiful thing about Defituna, is that you can see it on the chart here that you're semi-long, because based on the position that we have set up here, we're slightly longer on the range. And so if the price of Solana goes up from here, you can see we'll make money. Unless it goes too far, because of our leverage here, if it goes too far, we're actually going to end up losing money because we'll have to pay back this money at a higher valuation, right? And so there is a sweet spot to get here. And so anyway, so you have to take that into account whenever you're using leverage, right? But this is just right now. Like for instance, if the price just jumped up immediately, right? But what we can do is we can actually look at the time in range here, and we can actually manually increase this, or you can type it in. So if I'm in this thing one day, you can see that actually if it goes down a little bit, I'll still be in profit. And if it goes up, I'll be in even more profit. And you can see the range that I've set as well is giving me roughly a yield of 1% per day. So I'm putting in 87 SOL. And so I would make $142 a day just on it staying within this range and me earning a yield, because this is an LP. This uses Orca. And so as people are buying and selling SOL to USDC, they will be using this pool that's being pulled through on Orca. And when they do, we will be earning fees, right? And so this is cool because this is a form of LPing and kind of longing or shorting, perpetual trading. Now you could go delta neutral, which essentially means you don't care about the direction, in which if you see over here, it says neutral. We're going to go all the way to 0.5 by moving this over. And you can see here that if we go to 0 time frame, we are in a loss already all around. Now, the reason for that is because you are betting against volatility, meaning you think it's going to stay within this range. So the goal here is not to make money off the direction. The goal, if you're going delta neutral, would be to make money off of it just earning fees. And so you say, okay, I think the whole week it's going to stay within this range. I don't care about the direction. I just want to make money off of the fees. And so you can see here, let's say we stay in it for 2 days. Here, let's do 3 days, right? And so for delta neutral, you can see the closer to the entry point, the better. But you can see anywhere along here, we're earning, $100, $200, $300, right? And so the delta neutral, the idea is that you think it's going to end up staying near the center of this price. Whereas if you're going long or short, you believe it's going one direction or the other. And so like if I kept moving this little meter over here on the left, you could see that we'd be pushing short. And you can see that because of that, on the short side, we would earn money instead of on the long side. But we are today going long. And so we're going to set this up. You could actually like trade this like a perpetual, and that you could just max this thing out long, and you can adjust your range to kind of more appropriately match this by moving it up. I'm not doing that. This is a less risky strategy for me than doing direct perpetual trading or just LPing straight up. And so this is a way for me to earn higher yield at a wider range and still capitalize off of being right on the direction that it's going to go. And so I'm setting this up live. And look, I could be wrong on this. And after a few days of doing this, it actually ends up coming down further, and I'll end up losing some money. And that's part of it. Obviously, just like any trade, you have to make that educated choice for yourself. But I just love that Defituna gives me the tools to be able to be more educated on what could happen, and at what time frame and kind of what that would look like as far as how much money I would make or lose. And so we're looking roughly at a 0.7. Sometimes I'll come up to 0.75 here, even 0.8 on the long. And you can see as we adjust this, it actually moves the liquidation zones as well. And so actually, I'm going to drop this down just a little bit more, 4.25 here. And we're going to go 0.75 long on this. And so I actually think that, like, based on me reading the chart, I do think that Solana is going to dip back down into this range here before then coming back up. And so the reason that this is really cool is that if I was going to try to set up a long, I would have to set an order, a limit order down here to catch and then have it come back up. Or maybe I was short from where we are now down to here, close it out, and then long and try to come back up. And you're trying to time the market, and it's so hard to get it just right. And there's a lot of times where when this happens, I'll end up losing a little bit before I make some money because my trade is a little bit off, or the market does something a little different than what I expect. The cool thing about Defituna is I'm not really worried about that. Like, it can come all the way down into this range. And even though it'll show me at a loss, ultimately I'm still earning fees, and I'm auto compounding, which we'll look at in just a second, which means the fees that I'm earning are compounding on top of my position, earning more and more. And so the longer I stay in the position, the more money I end up making. And you'll see that because let's say I actually do stay in this the whole week. Let's say I stay in it 5 days and 11 hours. Even if the position that I'm at goes down, we're actually still in profit all the way down to this 146.9 range right here. And so this is pretty cool because the longer we stay in range, the less we would lose if we're actually off on our price target, right? And so it's pretty cool. Sometimes also the market will take longer than you expect to get to where you want. And so again, sitting in this range for longer is beneficial. And so we're looking at 1% a day. I could go tighter on the range if I wanted to and earn a higher yield, but I want to sit in this one longer. And so what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up setting a limit order here as well. So, all right, so I'm 0.75 here. I'm slightly long. You can see that in the graph played out here. You can see I have, all the different settings like this. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to go to limit orders. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a limit order, and I'm actually going to put it down here at 142. You can set it below your range. And so this is just kind of, again, like a scenario in which if it pushes out way too far, more than I'm expecting, we're giving it a little bit of breathing room. I'll have it swapped into USDC if that's the case. That way, if it keeps going down, we're in USDC, it swaps for you, which is really cool. We're going to do SOL to the upside as well. You also could do no swap, but we're going to do SOL on the way up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put this at 158. And this is kind of just past the peak of how much we would make as far as like the long position, but it does give a little more breather room to earn more fees. And so we're going to set the upper limit at 158, as you can see. Actually, we're going to go 158.5, I think. Yeah, we'll do that. And so, yeah, let's go 159, actually. Yeah, I want to give it more room there. So you can see This thing can move all around in here and it won't close out the order until it hits here, right? Which this is after 4 hours. If it does reach this 158, I'll have made $400, right? Which is obviously awesome. But if I allow this to sit in it multiple days, let's say it takes 2 days before it hits this 158. Now I'm earning $633 because it's earned fees the whole time, right? And on top of that, what we're going to do is we're going to auto compound this and we're going to keep the leverage. So our leverage is now 4.25. And so what it'll do is it'll actually add, it'll borrow more to keep this leverage the whole time. And so this number here could actually be much higher as it compounds, as I earn fees, and it keeps compounding more and more. So I've set my limit orders. I've set my auto compounding. The next thing that will be out is the auto rebalancing, which will be even more amazing because what it'll do is I can set up positions and it'll automatic rebalance once it reaches a certain area, which is going to be really, really cool because that means that I have to check it less often. And it may actually become true kind of passive, mostly passive earning, which I'll be doing a video on, which is really, really exciting. And now I'm going to create the position. And so we have everything, all our parameters set up here. And we feel comfortable with the direction that we think it's going to go. And that's it. Our position is successfully created. You can see it is now here. You can see the size of the position, the collateral, how much we are putting up, the debt or how much we're borrowing, the liquidation price of each, the lower and upper limits, the yield, and how much has been compounded automatically, which it does fairly often, the price range, our current P&L, and how long we've been in the position. You also can see over here, Sol USDC, it's an Oracle pool and the leverage there and that it's within range still. And so as this moves around, again, I expect this number to get pretty heavy on the red before it comes back up. I'm comfortable with that because I've looked at the charts and I know that it's going to come down before it comes back up. And I'm actually okay with that because it's going to stay within range. I'm going to earn fees and then eventually it'll come back up to the area that I'm looking for. So that's how you set it up. That's doing trades on DeFi Tuna. Really, really cool. Lots of information, just amazing, amazing tool to be able to earn money. Like I said, you can check out the pools to be able to trade other things outside of Sol USDC. Now we're going to look at the lending. And so I talked about this before. This is actually like, I have less than a penny in here, but for whatever reason, it still shows this. But you can see here all the different APYs and all the different coins you can lend, right? And so you can see some of these are fairly low because they're just not used as often. There's a lot of coins that they've added in that just aren't used super often. And so because of that, they don't have a lot of APY because the APY is actually based on the utilization. The pool that I just set up was Sol USDC. And so based on how much of, like you can see here, there's 17 million being lended. And so as more and more people trade or less people lend, the utilization rate can go up. And this just means that 30.93% of all the USDC that is supplied, which you can see here, there's 5.8 million supplied, 1.8 million borrowed. So that's roughly this percentage here, is being used. And so the higher utilization that's being used, let's say that people end up borrowing 5 of the 5.8 million, right? This number would drastically go up, and so would the APY of USDC. And same for every single other token here. And so they also have a supply limit. You can see here, there's more room for people to add on to it. It's a really good balance, the way that they have it set up, because what ends up happening is if for some reason the utilization on this gets really high, the people trading would have to pay a little bit more for the money they're borrowing. Because remember, we leveraged, we borrowed the money. And so if we're paying more for it, what ends up happening is, so we'll pay more for it. The people lending it here will earn more APY. But because it's so high on the utilization and people would earn very high APYs, like USDC will go up to, 12, 13, 14%. Sol might go up to 20% if the utilizations get too high. And if that happens, then a lot of people come in here and say, oh, I want to lend my money here. And as they lend, well, now they're reducing the utilization. These numbers organically come back down. And so it's a really good system. These will move up and down, but ultimately they average, a little bit higher than this, around this number, and end up being really, really good for people to be able to earn this much, especially on stable coins. 6.28% is really great. And oftentimes they're the highest yield that you can get on any Solana or any USDC in the space. So great product overall there. You can check out the docs to read more about it. We are now going to look at the Tuna airdrop. And so this is one thing I love about this team. They could have announced this airdrop and said, yeah, we're going to be doing a snapshot of this in a month and tried to draw in a bunch of people with a bunch of money to come use their site to then be able to make a lot of money before they did their airdrop. But they did not do that. They actually did a stealth one. So they basically said, hey, all the people that have, invested and been a part of our journey the last 6 to 7 months, because Defituna just came out in the middle of December of 2024. So it's only been 7 months. And they basically are like, hey, all the people that supported us early, that supported us often, we want to reward them. And so they did a stealth airdrop. They just randomly announced without telling anyone they were doing their token. They just said, hey, if we've already taken the snapshot, everybody who has used the platform so far is in that snapshot. And they also rewarded some people who lost money on the Trump token, even though they did not have to do that and no other protocol did, even though it was not their fault. They still wanted to reward people who were using that pool on their site and ended up losing money because of some of the stuff that happened there. And so overall, awesome. They're doing this airdrop. And so the cool thing about it is obviously the way that they've done it. They didn't try to pull in a bunch of liquidity to farm people. And that's one thing I really, really love. But also, the cool thing about this isn't an airdrop that I expect to just go down and down and down in value like many airdrops do. A lot of protocols promise governance. They promise all these different things for their token, and they say it has utility and it has this and that. But ultimately, a lot of these tokens end up going down in value because they don't provide any real value back to the people who are holding the tokens. Defituna is taking 100% of the revenue, and it's going to go to the Tuna token. And so this is pretty cool. The team itself is going to have an airdrop. Obviously, they need to be able to be paid. And so they're going to have an airdrop as well. And then people who have invested early as well, early contributors and things like that. But then the users, us, we're going to get this airdrop, and we can stake this airdrop to directly get the revenue from the platform. And within the last 6 to 7 months, they generated over $1 million in revenue. And honestly, that's, again, taking into consideration the first month or two, they had to build up and grow. And so honestly, I think the next half of the year, they'll probably break that. I imagine they'll do 1.5, if not way higher. I think if they just kept everything the same, they'd probably make another 1.5 million by the end of the year. But I'm going to talk about the other feature that they're dropping, the Fusion AMM, which will also, the Tuna token will also generate, or if you stake it, you'll earn revenue from all the stuff on Defituna. So that's the trading and lending, all the revenue they generate there, but also the revenue they generate from the Fusion AMM. And so honestly, incredibly generous. And it's absolutely insane what they're doing. I think this is such a cool way to handle a token and to be able to give back to the people who really helped them out early on. And I think the future for Defituna is very promising. Their Fusion AMM, we're going to talk about in just a minute. But basically, I'm super excited. I'm going to take all of my Tuna airdrop. I've been of the thought process of anytime I get a token airdrop to sell most of it right away, if not all of it, because all these airdrops eventually people just sell and they go down in value. But Tuna, I am absolutely not selling. I'm not skipping out on the potential of what this could be. I will be holding on to it. And I think many people feel the same about it. So I think the value of the token will probably do pretty well just in that regard. But also people are going to get excited to see the amount of revenue that this platform can generate based on what it's currently doing and off of the Fusion AMM, which I think is going to absolutely shift the liquidity on Solana. And so in short, their Fusion AMM is basically going to allow trades to happen. There not be any lag. There not be any. I'm not gonna butcher it. Their Fusion AM. Go check out their Discord. They describe it really, really well. I don't believe it's in their docs. Let me double check and see if they've added it in yet. I don't think they have because it's not out yet. Yeah, it's not out yet. So. But if you check out the Discord, they've talked a lot about it. I'm actually going to see if I can find it here so I can give you a brief description on what this looks like. So basically they call it a new AMM primitive. And so it's not quite a CLMM, not quite a DLMM, but it's fully on chain. And the idea is to offer deep liquidity and high performance execution. They actually have a kind of a graph, an image of what it looks like. But I know they've kind of described it to me as the idea is that currently the way that the orders work, as far as setting up limit orders and buys and sells and everything, it's not the most efficient. But with theirs, it's going to be very exact, very precise, and super efficient. And based on what they've described, I think it's going to be really, really cool. And so I think that with the Fusion AMM, it's going to generate revenue as people use that. And I think DeFi Tuna, the trading and lending and everything like that as well. And so I'm super excited for the Tuna airdrop. And I'm excited for all the things that DeFi Tuna is doing. I think they're an amazing team. They are providing to the community as well, the people that are actually using their product. And the future is very, very bright. It is June 30th. And so, within a month-ish, they said in July, the airdrop's going to happen. And I believe that the Fusion AMM is probably going to be coming out within the next month or two as well as the auto rebalancing and everything like that. So some of the biggest features, some of the biggest things happening on DeFi Tuna are going to be happening within the next month or two. So I'd encourage you to check it out. And as always, do your own research. I cannot provide you financial advice, but I can give you my opinions and the thoughts around what I am doing and why I'm excited for it. If y'all enjoy this video, y'all want to know more information or maybe some more strategies on DeFi Tuna or other sites as well, please let me know. I appreciate it. And y'all have a good one.